Good morning, community. Good morning, legacy builders. Happy Tea Time Tuesday. So glad you can join me another week in this community to have another powerful conversation around money behavior. Come on in, come on in. Let me see who's there. Good morning, Dr. Roxanne. Great to see you. We check the chats. Good morning, Sheila. Good morning, Stacy. Let me know, as always, what you're drinking, with tea, water, coffee, or whatever your beverage of choice is. Let me know. I'm going to take my sip. Okay, good morning. Good morning. Before I get started, good morning, Mom, Walida, Georgette. Great to see you popping in here. Thank you. Oh, your chamomile tea. I see you. I love it. Spiced chai. That sounds good this morning. I think I might make some chai later. Drinking ginger tea. Ooh, okay. Y'all are making me feel for all of it. Yes, drinking your water. Look, don't worry. I have my water right here too. So I usually have water when I'm drinking my tea as well. Good morning, Danielle, my son. I'm Danielle. Good morning, everyone. All right. So excited as always to have you here for this conversation. For those who don't know me, my name is Marcella Mullen Williams. I am a behavioral financial advisor and co-founder of Legacy Builder Group, where we help families achieve financial certainty and create impactful multi-generational wealth. I am here along with my partner, Mark Mullen, who's in the chat somewhere there. And today we are going to have a conversation because I'm not just here to talk to myself. And this community knows that we like to chat and we have great conversations here. So we're going to have a conversation around neurodiversity and the impact that it can have on your money. So, before I go any further with this conversation, let me make it clear that I am not an expert on this subject. I'm not an expert on neurodiversity. I'm not here to diagnose anyone. I'm not giving any advice in that manner. So I'm not a subject matter expert there. I am, however, a financial behaviorist. And I am very aware of the fact that our actions around money are significantly impacted by how our brain works. All right. So if you have been with me in this community for some time, then you have been learning that as well. You have learned how the way our brain is wired impacts our financial behavior, right? So those who have been with me in the community, you've been learning that. Let me confirm in the chat if that's what you've been learning throughout our months, almost a year together doing Tea Time Tuesday. Let me know how our brain works impacts our financial behavior. And as you're putting that in the chat, just confirming that that's what you're learning as well. Let's just be clear what neurodiversity means, because I was not familiar with this term. I think I've seen it floating around, but I was not clearly familiar with this term until 2023, till last year, when I started having a series of conversations with a friend in a group, in a community, another community that we have, that we meet every Friday morning. And it's like a Christian business owners group. And we have conversations about various topics. And for the last few months, we've been talking about neurodiversity because it's showing up in so many areas in our life. So let's me define what neurodiversity is. It is a term that's used to describe the differences in the way people's brains work. Okay, so it's basically just the differences in the way people's brains work. It was previously called, and still called in some circles, a neurological disorder. So neurological disorders. And so some of the terms, if you're not familiar, if you're like me, who wasn't necessarily familiar with the term neurodiversity, but familiar with some of the aspects of it, some of the conditions that surround it, um, these may be more familiar to you. So autism, you may be familiar with autism, terms like ADHD with his attention deficit hyperactive disorder, um, dyscalculia, which is how your brain processes numbers, and dyslexia, which is how your brain processes words and letters. And these are just to name a few. Those are the popular neurodivergent centered what they call disorders, but again, really not using as disorders. And I like that it's not looked at as a neurological disorder anymore, but it is understood as neurodiversity because there are a wide range of the ways that we all perceive and respond to the world. There's just such an array. And I really believe these differences need to be recognized and embraced. I think for some people, these things are actually the superpower, and I believe that we all have various superpowers. Every single one of us have within us. And for some, um, our superpower lay within the way our brain process information and and the way we process information around money. So let me pause and say, good morning. Okay, Sheila, yes, how our brain works impacts our money. Yes, indeed. So thank you for confirming. So and I was thinking about, I mean, we could talk about this some more because when I was thinking about bringing this topic to you, I did some research and I wanted to see, okay, well, how does this really impact us? Like, how many people are being impacted by or are considered neurodivergent? And when I looked at the research, it shows that about 1 in 5 people, approximately 1 in 5 people in the US are neurodivergent. So that's about 65 million individuals. And of those 65 million, 50% of them are undiagnosed and unaware of their neurodivergency. So, and I'm not going to ask in the chats, hey, have you been diagnosed? That's your business. I'm not going to ask you to share if it's something that you've ever looked into, if it's something that you've come across. Maybe you have family members. I think that's the biggest thing I want to emphasize is because this impacts all of us. I said 1 in 5 people in the US. That to me means that someone or you may be neurodivergent. 50% of people are unaware of this. And that means either you or someone may be unaware of the fact that you're neurodivergent. So here's the thing. What if you or a loved one has been struggling with managing money and it has something to do with the way your brain works? I want to bring awareness and consciousness to being mindful of the way your own brain works and the way those around you, especially if it's a spouse, especially if it's your children, the people closest to you. We can get so frustrated with ourselves, with our loved ones, because they keep exhibiting these patterns of behavior that are like, why do they keep doing this? Why do I keep doing this? And we could be completely unaware of how it ties into their neurological makeup. And there's healing that can be done. There's understanding their practices, there's strategies that could be created to help in those areas. So all of this is to really bring awareness to the fact that people with neurological challenges, those who are neurodivergent, do have certain pitfalls or may struggle in certain areas when it comes to finances. There's sometimes there's a struggle with controlling, the control of day to day or month to month finances, being able to really be in control of the day to day numbers and staying on top of that. the ability to absorb financial shock. Like when things happen financially, and we all experience some kind of financial pitfall, some kind of shock when it comes to our finances. For some who are neurodivergent, it is very challenging to be able to deal with these type of situations, financial situations. Also, being able to track, to stay on track, and to meet financial goals. And these come in various areas. So whether we're talking about hyper, the ADHD, which is that's the disorder in which you are more likely to be easily distracted, staying on track, attention deficit. That's what AD is, the attention deficit hyperactive disorder. So there's challenges to stay on top of things. There's You're easily distracted. Communication can be issue when it comes to certain others who are neurodivergent. Like I said, with dyscalculia, there is a struggle with staying on top of numbers and math and percentages, being able to quickly calculate percentages. If you ever struggled with being able to calculate tip quickly, not saying you have that. Again, I'm not here to diagnose, but those are the ways in which numbers can show up. Being able to stay on track with your finances. All of these can show up in various ways. So whether you are diagnosed or undiagnosed, the way your brain is wired may impact you. Okay. So again, paying attention to the fact, and before I go into how it can impact you and some of the ways in which you can be mindful of, I want to pause and just give you a moment to think about yourself, because I've had certain conversations with individuals who've shared their struggles. I've had conversations with individuals, and I've worked with couples in premarital financial counseling who struggle in particular areas when it comes to staying on track of their finances. So, again, not to diagnose, but being mindful of how your brain is wired, how you respond to certain things when it comes to your finances. And I want to bring up 3 points in this area. One, one way in which being neurodivergent can impact you is in the area of your income earning potential. There's a lot of directions I can go with this, but again, I'm not an expert in this area, but I will speak on an area that I am familiar with. And I'll share a quick story about a conversation that just stuck out to me. Years ago, it was probably 7 years or more. And I had a conversation with a neighbor, and it was a meeting. And she had a successful career in the pharmaceutical industry. She made good money. And she shared with me that she turned down 2 promotions. And the reason she turned down those promotions was because of her fear of standing in front of the room and writing on a board. And for those who are familiar, I was immediately aware of the fact that for those who struggle with dyslexia, I'm undiagnosed, but when you deal with dyslexia, it shows up a lot in your day-to-day life. It's something I've dealt with since I was a child. I deal with every day, but I don't let it stop me. And when she said that, her fear, she turned down a substantial raise twice simply because she didn't want to write on the board in front of people. I completely related to that, because it impacts spelling, it impacts your confidence, to be able to feel smart, even though you can be, it has nothing to do with intelligence, but all of that impacts your confidence, and impacting your confidence, therefore, has can result in the impact in your income earning potential, as this example shows you. So, if you've ever dealt with situations in which um, the way your brain was wired caused you to shy away from potential opportunities, potential raises, whether again opportunities, whether it's investment opportunities, jobs, career wise, then that is one way in which a neurological disorder, neurodiversity can impact earning potential. So that's the first way in which it can impact your money. Two, and if anyone wants to add to the chat, if they've experienced this, if they've seen this in a loved one, a friend, let me know. Two, how your money is managed. Neurodiversity can impact the way you manage your money. And this shows up in struggles with creating a budget and staying on track with that budget and having the numbers make sense and not feeling overwhelmed by maybe a spreadsheet. Certain apps may not work for you. These are the things that you have to be aware of. One thing that is really important is not trying to stick a round peg in a square hole. And when it comes to financial advice, and I think this is really huge because again, we're talking about the neurodiversity and the way our brains work. We have to be aware that we are not all created the same. And when people make financial recommendations to you, when you speak to the talking heads, or when you listen to the talking heads on social media, on the news, when you read the articles of how you should manage your money and what you should be doing, be aware of the fact that you are unique. You are uniquely made, and you have to find the thing that works for you. When it comes to the cash flow system, budgeting, whatever the word that you prefer to use, make sure that you are using an application that works for you. There's a lot of them out there. And the reason there's a lot of them out there because different strokes for different folks. So be mindful of what does work, what doesn't work, and stick what works for you. Okay. Let me look at the chats. Recognizing my management tools. Yes. Tamika, my issue is not being able to gainfully employ because I'm caring for neurodiverse children. Yes. So thank you for Tamika. Thank you, Tamika, for bringing it up because yes, you are caring for neurodiverse children and it is impacting your income earning potential. And thank you so much for sharing that because so I talked about the numbers, the amount of people who are out there struggling with this, and it impacts you, and it can be impacting you in some way, some knowingly, some unknowingly. So the third way in which want to, in which neurodiversity can impact you and impact your money, is in your investment behavior. When it comes to neurodiversity and some of the attributing factors within it, uh, impulsive decisions can be involved. You could also be susceptible to fraud when it comes. So we as humans already have a natural disadvantage when it comes to investment behavior. I've shared this that there are over 170 biases that we have, cognitive biases, ways in which our brain can go against us, some for us. But when it comes to money, most of the time, our brains is wired against our best financial interests when it comes to financial decisions. And if you are not neurodivergent, this can increase that challenge. It makes you to just automatically, like I talked about the talking heads and all the advice. We're inundated with financial advice from everywhere. It could be very overwhelming if you are neurodivergent, and you could be more susceptible to making impulsive decisions that can be challenging, that can have a negative impact on your financial future. you could also be more susceptible to financial fraud. So bringing awareness to this is really big and really important. And Morgan said, you said that's huge. All of this, all of these three key points, again, is about making sure that you are aware of how your brain works. Again, whether neurodivergent or not, there's a wide range of how we're wired. These are the areas in which we can be impacted: how you earn money or your income earning potential, how you manage your money, and your investment behavior. So, the solution and one of the best things you can do in order to make sure that you are operating in the best possible place, as far as where your brain is positioned, how your mind is thinking, and the best financial advantage is to one, get clear on what you want. You all know I say this over and over again. Make sure you understand your purpose for your money. Make sure you're clear on your values, which are the guardrails, and they're the standards, they're the board, the boundaries in which you choose to live your life. We all need boundaries. We need freedom within a framework. The framework is built on understanding what's important to you and what you want money to do for you. Without that framework, it's so easy to get off, to fall off and go off the rails, to be swayed, to fall out of financial alignment. So get clear on what you want, your purpose for money, and your core values. And two, work with a fiduciary financial advisor. That's accountability. So I said boundaries and accountability. Working with an advisor. I always encourage you to reach out to myself, reach out to Mark. We are fiduciaries. And the reason I say fiduciaries, if you're not familiar with the term, not all financial advisors are fiduciaries. Fiduciary means that there is an added responsibility to our license in which we must put our client's best interest in mind. We are legally required to do that. First, our client's best interest must come first before our own interest. So because of, again, the way our brains are wired, if you are susceptible to financial fraud, impulse decisions, struggle with staying on track, struggle with understanding how to navigate your career because of how you feel, the lack of confidence, these two elements, working, having accountability and boundaries, will help you and guide you no matter how your brain is wired. It does not matter. These are ways in which you can better equip yourself to be a greater financial steward and excel so that you can build wealth with confidence, surety, and with purpose. So if you have any questions and you kind of want to know more about neurodiversity, I encourage you to research that. If you suspect that, wait a minute, there's some things that I've noticed about my behavior that align with kind of what you're saying or what I found in the research, consider being tested if you feel it's been impacting you over time. Um, I've been encouraged by my kids to get tested because of what I suspect about me. I mentioned about dyslexia. I've also suspected I deal with ADHD, but there are not things that have ever been an excuse for me. I've always made sure that I've been able to overcome them, that I excel, that no matter what, I do what I am supposed to do to help others and to grow. And I encourage you to do the same, no matter what you feel about yourself, no matter what you've been diagnosed with or not diagnosed with. I encourage you to keep going. You are a legacy builder. No matter what, you are capable of breaking generational curses and building extraordinary wealth for you and your family. Doesn't matter where you are, where you stand neurologically. If you have any questions and just again want to reach out, want to know about understanding your purpose for money, discovering your core values and how it aligns with your money. If you have questions about Mark and I being fiduciary financial advisors, reach out to us, send me a DM, drop a comment. We're here to support you. And I hope this conversation brought a little awareness for you. I thank you as always, my wonderful community. This is a great topic and eye-opening. Thank you, Stacy. I'm so glad it was a bit eye-opening for some of you. Thank you, boundaries and advisors. Yes, indeed. I appreciate that, Sheila. I thank you, everyone, for joining me. Roxanne, thank you so much for another wonderful Tea Time Tuesday conversation. If this was helpful in any way, again, continue to let me know in the comments. Until our next conversation, continue to have a wonderful, wonderful week and continue to build wealth with purpose. I will see you next time. Goodbye.